right. Are we live or what, Brad?
Yeah, we're live. Live as we're
We're
gonna be.
all right. So am I a little laggy or am I doing okay so far?
You're perfect, bro. Perfect.
All right. Well, hey everyone, welcome to the Ryan Ripken Show, episode 11. I'm Ryan Ripken, as always, my co-host Brad Smith. Brad, how we doing? How we feeling?
Not feeling great, bro. I'm
Yeah.
I'm sick. Got the chills. I got everything.
But here's the thing, don't ask me if I'm all right. Hell no. We're grinding through because we had a commitment. We said earlier this week we were going to get 2 shows in a week,
That's
and
right.
that's what we're doing. So Brad is down south right now. I'm here in Baltimore, and actually we're in the studio space, if you can see, but we're not using all of the great equipment we have just because there is a little bit of technical difficulty with the internet. But the show goes on, Brad, and you look like a damn champion right now.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, as you said, I'm just trying to keep pushing through and staying consistent. Want to make sure we get this good content out for our folks who are watching. By the way, we have a lot of new Packers fans and Bears fans that are now tuning into the show. So we appreciate that. If you guys are watching or if you watch this at a later date, welcome. We're a Baltimore based channel, but we are obviously covering not all things Baltimore and a lot of things Baltimore, but we're covering a little bit of everything. So if you guys are into that, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like as well for really the two of us being so run down and coming in and just making sure that we're committed to you guys.
Yeah, and you know what? The reality of it is, our goal. We want to think big picture. Yes, we do have a lot of allegiance to Baltimore sports. I mean, for me specifically, if you're new, I was with the Orioles organization. I played for years with in the minor leagues with Baltimore, so I got connections there. If you recognize the last name, depending on the day, I had family that was involved with the Orioles. But regardless, though, what we're going to do for this show, because we know football season's here, we're going to dive into football later, but there's a massive series that's taking place as we speak in Baltimore. I just did pregame with 105.7 The Fan. Rays, Orioles, we're going to have live updates talking about what's going on, the magnitude of the series, and also get into a couple other big pieces. Heston Kjerstad, one of the top prospects, is up from Norfolk after the Ryan Mountcastle injury. And then also we are going to talk about Jackson Holliday, the number 1 overall prospect. Shintaro Fujinami, who I have not met his number 1 fan yet, Brad. We can get into that. And then after we talk Orioles, we'll give updates throughout the show. We're going to dive into a little bit of football, especially we're going to make our game picks for the week, but also there's 5 games we're going to dive a little bit further into. And so if you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, pop them in as always. We love to hear what you guys have to say. And despite Brad's cough, we are going to do the damn thing.
Yeah.
So, you going to make it, Brad?
Yeah, we're good. I'm gonna utilize that mute button a lot tonight. Sorry, guys.
Hey, you know what? Hey, it's funny when I think about this real quick. Back then, before everything with COVID, regardless, everyone was, no matter what you felt or how you were going to keep playing. You're going to keep going out there and battling through, tough it out. But now, especially with the COVID threat, people are a little bit more hesitant about, quote, being sick.
Yeah.
But I think we got that old school mentality. We're saying, screw it, fuck it, excuse my language, but not really. We're just going to go out there and do our thing.
Yep.
So let's dive into this, Brad. Let's get to the baseball right now. And currently, as we talk about this, the Orioles and Rays are in the top of the 4th inning. The Rays strike first with 3 runs off of Kyle Bradish in the top of the 3rd. And look, Brad, it's 2 heavyweights going at it, and we've talked about this for weeks leading up to it.
Yeah, this is a really anticipated game, and it's pretty amazing how close these 2 teams have really remained in the standings. There's so much winning going on, and maybe it's just because we're prisoners of the moment, or maybe I'm a prisoner of the moment, just because I'm not used to seeing the Orioles win so much that it's just amazing to me to see how the Rays have just really kept up game for game, say for last 2 or 3 games or whatever. But like it has been. It's been exciting to watch. Obviously, I hope the O's come out on top. But, man, if you're a fan of baseball, you got to be a fan of the series.
Yeah, I mean, these are the 2 best teams in the American League.
Right.
And and both teams have dealt with adversity struggles extremely well this year. For the Rays, if we want to look at their first, they lost Shane McClanahan. That was their Cy Young ace of their staff. Then the Wander Franco situation, which it's does not look good for not only for Wander's case, but for the Rays organization, for a ball club, that's a distraction. But you know what? They said we can only control what we can control. We got to go out there and play our game, and they've done a tremendous job. And for every Oriole fan out there that thought the Rays would lay over, you are mistaken. This team knows how to handle adversity. Actually, last year they made the playoffs with even being more injury plagued or having more issues last season. Now, for the Baltimore Orioles, similarly, they've dealt with key injuries this season, and they keep going. They're without their stud closer, Felix Bautista, so you got to find a different way. But as we speak about this right now, Brad, it's actually two of the best pitchers in the American League. When everyone talked about Kyle Bradish has had a tremendous year. Aaron Savali on the Rays is legit. And I actually made this point earlier on pregame show on 105. I had to go through this, Brad, and I was going, damn, there's no way this is true. Aaron Savali has not given up over 4 earned runs, not for a month, not for 2, for the entire season. It's September.
That's crazy.
The dude has been balling out for the Rays.
Yeah, that's wild, man. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, so as we speak right now, top of the 4th, Rays strike first, 3-1, and their damage was by none other, than they had Josh Lowe, I believe, started off, but it was Randy Arozarena with the triple that scored 2. Sorry, Brandon Lowe, I apologize. Drove in the first run, and Randy Arozarena, who has really done a number against the Orioles, triples to score Diaz and Lowe. And right now, the Orioles are down 3-1 as we go to the 4th inning.
Who hasn't a Rosarina wreaked havoc on? I mean, really?
I mean, he did it to the Twins. The reason why the Rays are 2 games back is because Rosarina went deep last night in the 9th to really make this close. And they stole a game. Actually, this again, the Rays lost control of the lead, battled back, won the game anyway. Rosarina's a stud, dude.
Yeah,
absolute beast.
All-star. I was, where was I headed with this? And the Orioles ended up losing to us in a series that they probably should have won with the St. Louis Cardinals. So, open the door for the Rays to sneak in and start chewing away at that lead.
Yeah, and right now, if we look at it, if we're being honest, this is kind of what I expected. If you told me the Orioles right now at this moment would have a 2-game lead in September, you would take it. Yeah. And realistically, if the Orioles can come out of this series with the split, you're leaving up 2 and are feeling very, very comfortable as you go into these last couple weeks of the season. But you don't feel good about how the Cardinals game went. The Cardinals games went, especially, people talked about it, the ERAs that the pitchers had for the Cardinals. I just had this discussion. I know as a player, you feel like you're going to tee off. One of those guys they just faced was Drew Rom, Brad. Former Oriole farmhand, was actually in the Jack Flaherty trade to St. Louis. He shoved it up the Orioles' ass. And you don't think that mattered to him. It's a real thing. Players going to face their former teams, it's a legit thing. I don't know how to describe it, but it happens so much. And on top of it, Drew Rom got his first major league victory. And I'm so happy for Drew because I know him personally. Just wish it wasn't at the hands of this Orioles team.
Yeah. But, hey, is what it is.
Yeah, that's the way the cookie crumbles. But you know what, Brad? Something else happened here. Ryan Mountcastle, not put on the IL, but his shoulder popped while he was swinging. There was some concern. And then what we've seen now is Heston Kjerstad, the Orioles, one of their top prospects, is finally coming up to Baltimore. He's in Baltimore right now, not in the starting lineup. And I think I've annoyed the hell out of you with my thoughts on Heston Kjerstad. I don't know have I annoyed you enough? Or are you okay with me?
No, you're good. I mean, and it hasn't been just you, right? I mean, it's been Orioles fans in general. I mean, you go on Twitter, and you see it all over the place. People have been anticipating it's him and Jackson Holiday. The fans have wanted both of these guys up in the bigs. sooner rather than later. And I think there's a lot of people that are excited that that he's coming. And it was interesting. I think I saw that he kind of got pulled in the middle of the game last night. So it's just kind of wild. People picked up on that. But I actually, speaking of popped, have a quick little video here of Kjerstad just hitting a monster home run. Maybe it'll play. Nope, it's not going to do it. That's cool. But it was a monster. Yeah, it was a monster home run. It was. Just take my word for it.
Hey, I'll tell you this, and if you can't see, people love numbers, right? But numbers don't always tell the story. But with Heston Kjerstad, if you could see what he's done in the minor leagues, they do tell a story. Dude's hitting over 300 through both levels of AA and AAA. He has 21 jacks on the season, 29 doubles. I believe I might be wrong on this because it's not pulling up here with the internet connection. I thought it was 8 triples. The dude can hit. And I said this from the beginning. I thought he was the best pure hitter on this Baltimore Orioles staff or in this organization right now, right? And so it doesn't mean Jackson Holliday isn't the future. He is, 1,000%. But Heston, the only reason he is not in the big leagues earlier than this was mainly because he dealt with a heart condition. And he had to try to find his way back. Second overall pick, but you're watching, or if we had the video, you would see the dude's got ridiculous pop. Now, I don't know what exactly that's going to entail, how much impact he's going to make this time around. But I can tell you this dude, to me, I've been bullish on from the start. And I think when his time comes, he's going to go out there and mash some baseballs. So giving it one more try, the old college try.
I was going to try, but it's all good. I don't know. I guess we're both having internet issues.
Yeah, gosh. But you know what? That's a part of it. Who the hell cares? You go out here, you grind it, you do it, whatever. It's consistency. And maybe one day I'll give some tips on how do we keep going, right? Because that's the reality of it too. Shit hits the fan, you got to keep going.
That's right.
Let's see if this next one works because we're talking about another guy. I'm saying, well, wait a minute, Jackson Holliday, why isn't he up here? He's 19. Need more time for him to develop. Still, he is going to be the future of this Orioles team. He is a stud. But Jackson Holliday hit his first home run of the season in AAA this year. Tremendous player, having difficulties with it. But, Brad, there's no surprise that for us and for most people that it's not Jackson being in the consideration right now for a call-up.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see if this works. There we go.
Ooh. There it is.
Maybe.
She swings high fly ball into the jet stream, deep into right field, back to the warning track to look up. No play for Gomez. It is into the bullpen as Jackson Holliday has his first career AAA home run.
I can't see it.
You can? Well, I can. The viewers can.
As long as the viewers can see it, but I can't control. I don't have any control over anything. There we go. I think we're good now.
Perfect.
But anyways, there you go. There's the footage.
There it is. Jackson stud. He's a beast. Also, Harbor Park. I love playing in Norfolk, by the way, Brad. Folktown, great place. That team's preparing for the playoffs there in AAA, by the way. But what I was alluding to is there's no surprise. Jackson Holliday's time is not right now. But man, his future is as bright as anybody in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, I mean, it's exciting, those fans. What's not exciting is that the Orioles are losing to Tampa, but they did strike back, though, so let's have some hope here. And guess who did the damage, Brad? If you could guess one player on this Orioles team that just did some damage, he's been arguably their best player now since the month of May.
Gunnar Henderson.
Whammy. Gunnar knocks his 26th of the season. He's trying to get to 30, which we both thought would still be happening. Is it even a debate?
No.
He's the rookie of the year.
It's not even close. Not even close.
Guy has been tremendous, but he came up big. This is going to be a slugfest, a game we're going to continue to monitor. But for the Orioles, Gunnar Henderson, the best is yet to come. He's starting at shortstop. Personally, I think he should still play shortstop when the time comes. And that's something that we will get into down the road. And actually, I want to touch on this real quick before we – there it is.
There you go. Oh, just barely out.
You know what? I don't care if it's 373 and a half feet or 490.
That's
that
right.
Puppy's a tater, and for the Orioles, that's massive.
Oh, for sure. Cuts the game to 1, so it's 3-2 right now in an all important series for the O's.
I think that's at 111 off the bat too. Dude's got stupid pop.
Yeah, it's frozen rope out there.
But again, this is what you're going to see. This is what you expect from the American League East, by the way. When we talked about big dogs and everyone was thinking, yeah, the Yankees, Red Sox, it's their down years. The Orioles and Rays, man, you talk about teams that know how to grind to keep playing. It's so fun to watch. This is going to be a game, a series. It's going to be a slugfest and just a back and forth throughout the whole way. Even that series the Orioles won in Tampa was extremely entertaining. And we'll dive more into it as we go on. Last Oriole I wanted to touch on real quickly because if anyone's out there and they're going to watch this or listen, can I please meet Fujinami's super fan? He's in Baltimore. He's watching the team. He's a huge fan of Fuji, so am I. And rightfully so, Brad. And we've talked about it. This dude can make there he is right there. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I think I've definitely, to an annoying perspective, but you got to live and die by the sword. And I am all on board this Fuji train.
Yeah, but here's the thing, bro. Like, I mean, it's warranted. Like, he deserves the attention, and there's been a lot of people, a lot of fans even, that have kind of written him off. Because especially in the beginning, there were some inconsistencies, and certainly him as a starter was not the best situation for him to be in. But he's really kind of turned it on, and I would say that even since, unfortunately, Felix Bautista, went out, he's kind of like pseudo taking the place of a closer, him and Cano. And so he's really kind of showed out in that high pressure situation, which is something that a lot of fans had concern over. And in fact, the month of September has been phenomenal for Shintaro Fujinami.
Look at that.
That is, in September, he has pitched 6 2/3 innings with 8 strikeouts. His ERA is a big old goose egg with 108 pitches, 66% of them being strikes. So just really great stat there. And Fuji has been crushing it in September. I hope this continues, and seems like he's getting hot at the right time.
Yeah, the dude is a beast. And this is the thing, is you can't teach this. You can't teach the type of stuff that he has. You can try to help get better, but throwing 103, having the ability to dominate, and the one player that had that skill set was Felix Bautista in that setting. And so
particularly with that splitter.
Fans, exactly. And again, it's not as devastating as Felix, right? It's going to take time, but what you're seeing is him developing even his next pitch, like this kind of cut slide or whatever you want to consider it. But the biggest thing is Fuji feels comfortable here. And then that's another component or proponent, whatever the word is, when you're in an environment where you feel like you can start to thrive. He was nervous coming into this, pennant race, division race, but I'll tell you what, he seems like he's been welcomed by the team. And now he's starting to pay the benefits, and he could be the guy that could make the biggest difference for this team come October. That's our goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we covered that. We got the Orioles, and again, we are going to continue to cover this game. The Orioles are going into the bottom or top of the 5th as we talk about it. But hey, it's football time too, and as we know, as much as great as baseball is, football rules, and we're big football fans on the side there, Brad. So we want to dive in, and last week we got to a lot of great things. We're going to continue that right now. We're going to have some picks for the week, and while this is about to start or it just kicked off, we might as well just get this out of the way. Brad, the Vikings, Eagles are on right now on Amazon Prime. Quickly, run it down. Who you got, who you like.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and just take a look. We can just take a look at all of them for week 2 in the NFL. I was looking at the split here. Philadelphia was favored by 6. I think I'm going to take that. I think that Philadelphia does stick it to Minnesota. They had some struggles on defense a little bit against the Pats, but I think that is just, again, some first week jitters. There's a lot of good things we saw in the trenches from Philadelphia, and I think that they're going to get to Kirk Cousins quite a bit here. I'm taking the over on Philadelphia versus Minnesota, with Philadelphia favored by 6.
All right. I mean, I think I'm with you. The fact also that the Eagles did not play a good game offensively last week. They had turnovers forced by their defense that scored and set them up in good positions. And Jalen Hurts, he's going to bounce back. In Minnesota, it's not a defense you're scared of. But what's happening right now with that loss to the Bucs, now you got to go on the road to Philly. I'm with you. I think there's too much momentum for the Eagles to drop that game. We'll see the Eagles at 2-0. And the Vikings, if they lose this game, they're going to have a lot to think about, especially for a team that was hoping to contend for another NFC North title.
Yeah, and then next up we have Baltimore versus Cincinnati. We're going to dive into this game in a little bit, but just to give my 2 cents on this one, Cincinnati is actually favored right now. This is early still, but they're favored by 3 points. Baltimore is playing in Cincinnati. I think that I'm going to take the under on this. So I'm going to take Baltimore plus 3.5. Actually, I'm going to take the over. Baltimore plus 3.5. Cincinnati really got their asses kicked by Cleveland. Baltimore's still figuring out. Lamar Jackson's still figuring out. We talked about it last week that it felt as if they were just playing their first preseason game. So I think it's going to take 4 to 5 weeks before we really start to see the Baltimore Ravens getting stride and looking like a championship team that we think that they are going to be. Cincinnati's still trying to figure it out. Joe Burrow, I mean, last time they were out against the Bengals, against the Browns, Joe Burrow averaged 2.6 yards per pass, 14 for 31, 82 total yards against the Brownies. So really tough stuff there. Baltimore also has a really tough defense. I don't know what they got to do, what they got to fix, but I don't know if enough time has passed for the Bengals to really come out on top here. So I'm going Baltimore on this one.
And man, that'd be a massive win for Baltimore for so many different reasons, because the divisional game, you're on the road, not a game you're expected to win. And the fact that it would also drop your division rivals to 0-2, it's even more. The question's going to be, and we'll dive into it, is can this new offense for the Ravens continue to get in sync? Because there's a lot of new pieces that you can tell Lamar Jackson trying to get used to that, plus coming back from his injury last year, what's going to happen. But I do think we're going to be in for a very close game, good game, and I'm with you. I'm going to lean to Baltimore being able to come out on top of this game, or at the worst, I think they're going to cover that spread.
Yeah, man. Next 1:00 game here is going to be Seattle versus Detroit. Detroit's favored by 4.5. I'm going to let you take this one first. What do you got?
You know what? I was disappointed with Seattle's efforts in that game, in the first game, especially with the Rams coming to town. I am actually going to take Seattle in this one.
Oh, wow.
I love the fact of what the Lions have done. They're building a lot of great chemistry, but I do think that they bounce back. I do think that they're going to get on the right track. I'm trusting Pete Carroll's ability to motivate his guys. And I think Geno Smith is not going to feel as threatened by this Lions line compared to when Aaron Donald was trying to chase him down. There was that video running around. That's why I'm going to take the Seahawks to beat the Lions, but I do think this is going to be a very, very competitive game.
I think so too. I'm going to take the Lions on this one. One of the big reasons is because the Lions defense hit Patrick Mahomes 7 times, and they got away with 1 interception on that. Jared Goff also had a solid night against the Chiefs, Super Bowl champs. He went 22 for 35, 253 yards. He didn't have to do a whole lot, but he ended up getting a dub. So I think, going up again in Arrowhead and having a performance like that, albeit it wasn't like anything that I would say was blockbuster, but they still found a way to beat the Chiefs in their home. And I think that they are going to go ahead and take it to the Seahawks. Detroit's favored by 4.5. I'm going to take the over on that.
Okay, yeah. I mean, last time when they faced, a lot of offense was played between the two teams. Moving into teams with rookie quarterbacks, we talked about this Colts-Texans Stroud versus Richardson. And hopefully Richardson, everything is okay. He's feeling good. The over and unders at 39, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's under that, just because I don't know how great these offenses are going to be. But I don't know about you right now. I am actually going to lean to the Houston Texans based off of what I saw with that defense in Baltimore. I think that they're going to be the team, and also Dameon Pierce in that running game for the Texans. I think it gets going. The line's at +1. Give me the Texans at home. Brad, what says you?
I think so too. I mean, we saw Anthony Richardson with some really bright spots with him, but then ended up leaving the game early. He's still questionable, even though he's expected to play in this game. I liked a lot of what I saw from CJ Stroud, and that was my firsthand experience with him. I thought that they do have a good foundation for a solid team, and Indianapolis is still trying to figure out their identity. So for those reasons, I mean, you got Houston that's favored by 1 point. It's going to be a tough fought battle, but I think Houston's going to come out on top.
I think in division game, right? And I love what I saw from Richardson in week 1 against the Jags. He gave them a chance and he looked good, but I don't think the Texans defense gets enough credit. And we talked about it last week. They were really tough against the pass. And for Anthony Richardson, that's part of his game that even though he had a lot more success than people anticipated, you're still going on the road and you still are a rookie quarterback in the NFL, first road start. So we'll see. Moving down the list, this is another game we're going to jump into real quickly. Bucs Bears. Brad.
I'm taking Bucs for the Buccaneers to go into Minnesota, tough place to play. They are favored. Like you said, we're going to be talking about this one, but Baker Mayfield didn't look half bad. The defense also played pretty solidly as well. I'm taking Tampa Bay -2.5.
I'm with you. I want the Bears to do well. I really, really do. And I hope there's a big turnaround. But I'm just going to give it to a team that has a little bit more continuity, a little bit more of an understanding. Give me the Bucs at home, and if I'm wrong, great. But the Bears, to me, have to prove that they're going to take this next step. Nothing in that first game made me feel any better about their situation.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, we got the Chargers in Tennessee. It's going to be a close game too. Divisional game. You have Tennessee. That's actually that is the underdogs here. You know, I think that this is the game that we see D-Hop actually perform. Last week we saw him a little bit. I think that he ends up going off. The LA Chargers still don't have an identity, and we saw that Austin Eckler also got injured in the game last week. I think that Tennessee actually could end up upsetting here. I'm taking the spread on Tennessee +3.
You know, and doesn't Vrabel just have his boys ready to go? Yeah. You know, and even in games where you might count them out, they're going to play tough. Now, Hopkins is dealing, or maybe it's not, maybe it's maintenance. He hasn't practiced. If he's on the field, I think he's going to have a good game, like you said. But the Titans, I trust their coaching staff of what they've done more than what I do with the Chargers. So I'm with you. I'm taking the spread. I think the Titans, both teams don't want to be in this 0-2 hole. One of them is going to be. But I still am going to lean towards the Titans playing in Tennessee.
Yeah, next up we have our very first suck bowl of the NFL season. It's the Giants versus the Arizona Cardinals. The Giants are favored by 4 points after getting their asses kicked on Sunday Night Football, 40-0. Kind of crazy to me. I would have thought that the Giants would have been underdogs here, but they are favored by 4 points. I'm taking the Cards.
Yeah, I mean, well, the big reason why they're favored is because of the quarterback situation, right? They still have Daniel Jones compared to the options that are there with the Cardinals, and Josh Dobbs started game 1 for Arizona. I'm with you. I think the Giants they should win. And if they don't win, it's going to be a massive disappointment for this Giants team where you spent all this money on Daniel Jones. You go out and get Darren Waller, who's still dealing with a hamstring/nerve injury. And the fact that you really do have the better team. So there's no excuse to not walk out of here winning and hopefully winning comfortably.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, we got Green Bay, Atlanta. Now, we saw Jordan Love really take it to the Bears last week. Atlanta is the under here, but +1. It's going to be a close game, apparently, according to Vegas. I'm taking Green Bay. I mean, I'm riding the Jordan Love train until the wheels fall off at this point. I liked what I saw in preseason, liked what I saw against the Bears. Atlanta isn't that great of a team. All they got is Bijan right now. As far as a complete team goes, Green Bay's it. Decent defense as well. So I got Green Bay winning this one. I'm going to take a spread as well, +2.5.
Yeah, I'm with you with Green Bay, and the reason for what you mentioned, I like the defense more with Green Bay. But here's how it's going to go: is if you can stop the Falcons' rushing attack. The Packers are very good against the pass. They were last year, but the Falcons don't use their weapons on offense. And we'll dive into more talking about Kyle Pitts, their tight end, and Drake London. They do have Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. They're going to lean on those guys. But I don't think that's going to be enough to overcome what the Packers are able to do. So I'm with you. I'm taking the Pack. I am all in on Jordan Love. I loved what I saw from him, and I think he's going to build off of that in week 2.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, we got Vegas and Buffalo. This is very interesting after Josh Allen almost gave up 4 turnovers in total, but lost the fumble, ended up recovering that one. Threw 3 interceptions, lost 1 fumble. The Buffalo Bills are favored by 8 points. I think that is a bit steep, even though I do think they get the win. They're just not looking great right now. Josh Allen put it all on himself last week, as he probably should have, but it's a team sport, as we know. But you can't lose the ball like that. Ball security is job security, as our friend Darius Jennings would say. And so they got to figure out a way to hang on to that ball, because if they don't, I don't think that we should be underestimating Las Vegas after coming off of a win in Denver.
No, I agree. I mean, I think Josh Allen is such a talented player, and he's able to make almost any play you can imagine, but then he can also, because of that, he can be prone to making some mistakes by trying to do a little bit too much, right? Yeah. Buffalo should win this game. Vegas got a good divisional win against Denver. I don't think they're going to have the same result against Buffalo. It is a big number. You would think maybe Jimmy G keeps it close, so I'll take the points if it's staying at 8. But, I'm going to roll. Buffalo wins this game, and they should feel pretty – it should be in hand if everything goes well with Buffalo. But I am curious to see how Allen bounces back after a tough week 1.
Next up, you got Kansas City and Jacksonville. Kansas City lost their first game of the season. The Super Bowl champs are favored by 3.5 points, while Jacksonville just came off of a win against the Colts. We're seeing a lot of good things down there in Jacksonville, Ryan. And I got to say, this one is a toss-up for me. 3.5 point spread between Kansas City and Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence is looking like an absolute stud. One that we saw, a little bit, come into his own late last year, and it seems as if he's picking up right where he left off. And you know what? I'm taking Jacksonville on this one.
All right. Well, hey, I respect that. They are definitely feeling good, but I'm still taking the Chiefs. With Chris Jones back, if Travis Kelce is healthy, I do trust what the Chiefs are doing. And you could argue with the drops that happened last week, the Chiefs would walk out of there with a victory. Mahomes is going to come ready to play, and I still think it's going to be the Chiefs coming out on top. But you're right, it's a statement game. It would be massive for Jacksonville to pull it off, but give me the defending Super Bowl champs.
All right, next up we got San Francisco, LA Rams. San Francisco, arguably the best team in football after beating the shit out of the Steelers last week. They're favored by 7 points, and I don't have much else to say other than that I'm taking San Francisco in that game.
San Francisco. I know it's a divisional game, but they are head and shoulders to me the best team in the NFC. They was going into the season, and there was nothing from week 1 that made you think anything else.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, we got New York Jets and Dallas. Very interesting game. Dallas coming off of a huge win against the Giants, where they put up a 40 burger and shut them out on Sunday Night Football. Is this the real Dallas Cowboys? And then you have the New York Jets that suffered a great loss in losing Aaron Rodgers. We didn't really get a chance to talk about it this week, But man, this is going to be a very interesting game to watch. Very entertaining. Dallas is favored by 9 points, and that is steep to me. We still didn't see much out of Dak Prescott, and what we saw was pretty lackluster. He completed less than 50% of his passes in a game where it was an absolute slugfest. So I think, in my opinion, excuse me, I'm going to go Dallas still, but it's going to be much closer than that.
Well, what's the line at currently?
9.
9. Yeah,
-9.
give me the points with the Jets. I think the defense is going to come ready to play for New York. I do truly believe that, and as long as Zach Wilson doesn't try to do too much, I think they should keep this a game like you said, and lean on those running backs, and we'll get into it. But Breece Hall, he looked good, especially coming back from his injury. So I'm with you. I think the Cowboys should win the game, but the Jets are going to make this a very interesting one because their defense is very, very dominant.
Then you got a game that nobody cares about unless you're a Washington or a Denver fan. It's Washington versus Denver. Denver's got favored by 3.5 points. I'm actually going to take the Commanders on this one. Denver just still doesn't look like they have it together. Sean Payton, obviously legendary coach, but I just don't think all the pieces are there. And Washington, I really just like Sam Howell. I like what I saw from him last week too, even though they ended up losing the game. I think that they're going in the right direction, whereas Denver's still trying to figure out what direction they're actually going in.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Denver on this. They had a tough home loss to Vegas, but I did like what I saw from Russell Wilson. Javonte Williams, their running back, is going to continue to get more comfortable and healthy coming off his own injury to his ACL and just his knee in general. Give me the Broncos on the road, and this will be interesting. This is going to be Sam Howell's a true road test for him. And I'm curious how it's going to be, especially playing at altitude. Denver has a good defense. Give me Denver at home. And just to move into it, are you cool with moving to the Pats and Dolphins?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So Pats and Dolphins, that was a great game for both those teams, actually. Pats almost pulled the upset over the Eagles. Dolphins go out and win a very entertaining game against the Chargers. And you know what? I feel that I'm going to trust Bill Belichick. Give me the Patriots to cover. And actually, I'm actually going to go with money line. Pats win the game in New England. I think Mac Jones plays well, and I think Belichick finds enough to stop Tyreek Hill and the explosive offense led by Tua.
That's a ballsy pick, but I'm going with you on this.
Yeah, baby.
It is. It's not sustainable to see what we saw from Miami last week. And here's the thing that scares me about Miami. They are one-dimensional. And what is Bill Belichick good at? Taking your best player off of out of the game. He's going to do that with Tyreek Hill. Tyreek isn't going to be a factor. Yes, you got Jalen Waddle, but where's your run game at? You're going to need to be able to run the ball and run it well in order to beat the Pats. Mac Jones looked really good last week, and really the Pats looked really good last week. I'm not underestimating Belichick here. I think, not saying dynasty here or anything like that. It's way too early to make those calls, but Belichick looks like he's building another legit squad, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing from them. So I'm taking New England on this one as well.
Boom, baby. I'm with you. And you know what? Let's just do these both all together here. Saints, Panthers, Browns, Steelers are the Monday night games. I know I'm usually a gentleman, but I'm just going to go first here, Brad. I still like what the Saints are doing. They had the veteran leadership. I like Bryce Young moving forward with his career. It's just a lot to ask. Give me the Saints. Now, as far as Steelers Browns, this is a head scratcher for me, but we talked about this, Brad. Cleveland has a tough time facing Pittsburgh, just like the Bengals don't like facing Cleveland. Yeah. I think Pittsburgh bounces back at home and give me Pittsburgh in that scenario.
What I saw out of Cleveland's defense last week really had me surprised at what was going on. And there were some interesting playmakers there in the trenches on offense as well. Do they have what it takes to make it to the playoffs? I don't think so. Neither one of these teams do. Just based off of what we saw from their gameplay, it was an off game for the Bengals. I'm taking. God damn. I'm taking Pittsburgh as well, just because they are the they are playing at home. It's really hard to play at Heinz Field. As far as New Orleans, Carolina is concerned, I'm taking New Orleans as well. It wouldn't surprise me if the Saints ended up just sweeping this division, just because literally New Orleans is the only team that has a veteran quarterback in Derek Carr. For those reasons, I'm taking the Saints.
Well, and there you have it. Well, hey, as we wrap up that and we're going to go talk about these games now, give you an update on the Eagles-Vikings. Eagles are up 3-0 on the Vikings. And, Brad, a lot of turnovers in the first quarter. At the end of the first quarter right now, there are 3 turnovers on the game, 2 fumbles lost by the Vikings, 1 interception thrown by Jalen Hurts, but it is 3-0 Philadelphia. And that's really all there is to it. But if you want to guess, Kirk Cousins has 2 completions for 16 yards.
Oof.
If you want to guess where that went to?
Justin Jefferson.
There you go. Whammy. And for the Orioles, quick update, they tied this game up. And they actually had the bases loaded, no outs, down 3-2. Adam Frazier, fielder's choice, tied the game up. And then Adley Rutschman hit into a double play. That's just how the cookie crumbles. And I talked to you about it. Aaron Savali has yet to give up more than 4 runs this season. The Orioles and Rays are tied 3-3, top 6 with 2 outs. We will update you as we go. But hey, let's go into our games. And I think the first game on our list that we were circling was that Chiefs-Jags game, Brad. This young, hungry team from Jacksonville taking on the defending champs. And it really actually is exciting, and I hope that Travis Kelce is ready to go, because I do think this could be one of the best games of the weekend.
You want to take a guess as to how well Trevor Lawrence played in that game last week against the Colts?
I mean, I have an idea. Do you want me to fully share?
I got you. 20 for 22. 20 for 22. 20 for 22, 165 yards. That stat alone, he missed 2 completions the entire game. And to me, I love that. I think when we look at what went on in that Lions game against the Chiefs, granted, as I'd mentioned, it's the first game, right? Everybody's going to have that rust that they need to knock off. But Patrick Mahomes was 21 for 39, 226 yards against the Lions defense. I just struggle to figure out who's going to outshine here. Obviously Travis Kelce, but we don't know how healthy he is. Chris Jones is back. He hasn't played a snap in spring training in training camp. So I struggle to find where, other than Patrick Mahomes, who's going to be the standout that takes this game over. The running game here also has a big question mark. Pacheco didn't do well. 8 carries, 23 yards. Patrick Mahomes had more rushing yards than everybody, which is, saying a lot there. And Patrick Mahomes had double the rushing yards than the next closest running back in that game. So lots of questions that need answers for this Chiefs team. And is it, hey, they won the Super Bowl last year, so we should just trust them? I don't know. And they're going to have to show up and show out against the Jaguars team that is just on absolute fire. They're picking up right where they left off last year, Ryan. And if they continue with this momentum, Chiefs better watch out.
Yeah, and you know what? I hate to burst your bubble with it, but Lawrence was actually 24 for 32 for the game. I think he had a spree when he was on there. But my point is –
my fault. Looking at the wrong thing.
Good.
My bad.
Yeah, but the thing is, your point was, would Trevor Lawrence come out firing? The answer is damn right he did. He went out there and he played extremely well in a division game where the Jaguars had not won in Indianapolis, I believe, in 5 straight trips there. So you want to talk about getting past a hurdle, and was the fluke for Trevor Lawrence, his last season, is he going to take that next step? To your point, the answer is absolutely yes. He was great. Calvin Ridley looked fantastic for this team, and he's going to change the dynamic. But I really think where this game is going to be won or lost, Brad, is going to be how effective Travis Etienne and that rushing attack is. Etienne averaged over 4 yards a carry against Indianapolis. He's a monster. But now with Chris Jones back, and actually the Chiefs did a great job of stopping the run last game. Granted, they tired out at the end of the game when the Lions, milked it out. But if they can establish the run game, I think that can try to neutralize things with the Chiefs. I just am putting my faith that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are going to figure this out. And I just have a hard time seeing them say, you know what, we're going to not be prepared, because I feel like most times they are ready to go in almost any situation, especially bouncing back from a rough performance on opening night.
Yeah, so it actually helps to look at the right year, the right season when you're looking up stats for these games. So I was looking up Jags Colts last year where Matt Ryan was their quarterback. So thanks for that, pal. Appreciate you. But to your point, I'm not making the argument that they won't be prepared for this game. Make no mistake about it. But the amount of talent that is on the other side of the ball in Jacksonville, you got to wonder, on paper, who has more talent? And I think that it's close. I think it's really close.
I mean, the Jags have so many young pieces that are in place, and it's really going to be the play of, quite frankly, the quarterbacks. But we know what Patrick Mahomes has and what he's capable. Trevor Lawrence now, and the Jags went in there and played a tough game in the playoffs. No doubt about it. It just, can you do this early on? And not that it's going to make or break the season, but for a Jacksonville team with these expectations, and you have a shot at the defending champs at your place, you want to take advantage of that. And that's where they got to try to thrive. They want to try to thrive. It's their division to lose right now. Like, that's just how it was going into the season. But then to be a challenger in the AFC, you got to beat some of the top dogs when the time comes. This is their moment. And I just don't know if that moment is the right one for them in week 2.
We shall see, my friend. What's the next game we're covering here?
Well, hey, it was a hot topic. Actually, it was very hot on the last 24 hours when we talked about the Packs and Bears, and it's about the Chicago Bears going to Tampa Bay, or some used to call it Tampa Bay, when Tom Brady was there. The Bears had all this excitement of what's going on with the season, and then they go out and just get smacked on their opening week at home, Brad. And it really just was not a pretty game, especially the second half, where the Bears just continued to make mistakes, not make adjustments, and found themselves, in garbage time trying to make some moral victories. But now you got to go on the road against a Bucs team that just went to Minnesota and stole one, and now they're looking with Baker Mayfield at the helm of getting to 2-0.
I like how you said stole one. If you guys didn't see the controversy that Baker kind of like shoved off, was that somebody was making an accusation that perhaps Baker Mayfield stole some signs or what have you. But either way, you got the dub. He kind of made some jokes about it, so thought that was funny that you mentioned that. But wanted to just kind of reiterate this passing chart from Justin Fields last week, and 2 passes further than 10 yards. One of them was an interception, and that is not going to cut it. That's not going to win you games. Not only that, but you traded your number 1 overall pick for DJ Moore, and he was not a factor in that game against the Packers last week. You got to get him in the game. You got to get your best players on the field. You got to get your playmakers out there. I just don't understand. It's a big head scratcher here. When we talked about this game and reacting to it after the fact, meaning the Packers and the Bears, there was some comments about, some of the other receivers stepped up. I guess if you want to call it stepped up, when you look at this chart, it's pretty rough looking. But the fact of the matter is that DJ Moore needs to be in this game. If they're not in this game against the Bucs, it's going to be another L, in my opinion, for the Bears.
And I think the concerning factor is, when looking at that, it was a combination of the quarterback school. A guy has a channel on YouTube. He breaks down each quarterback's play and what's going on. And it was a combination of the offensive line play was very, very poor. And then also Justin Fields then felt like he had to try to scramble, maybe didn't look through his reads properly and check down quite a bit. And that could be part of your internal clocks going off so much, or you're not processing the right reads. We saw that great touchdown to Darnell Mooney that he had. Mooney made the route that was set up. Justin Fields made a good ball touchdown. But the other ones, and there was another play, DJ Moore was open later in the game, but that wasn't a look for it. If the Bears are going to take a step forward in the passing game and for Justin Fields' production, it has to be with DJ Moore there. Because if not, it's just not going to develop the way that Fields wants. And to your point, you brought it up. You don't trade for a guy and not use him. And I know that that's a combination of ways, but if you know for a fact that you're not, that if it is the case where Fields isn't making the right read, then why don't you find a way to scheme in? You saw in the preseason, DJ Moore, they had screens set up. If that's a game that you got to play, get your playmakers the ball. And if you don't, you're going to have a tough time. Because I will say this on the flip side, Brad, the Bucs, questions were, could they get their playmakers the ball from Baker? And I'm not saying it's perfect, but Mike Evans had a good game. And then to close out the game, Chris Godwin had the game-sealing catch that was able to extend the drive, give him a first down, and the Bucs could run out the clock or, kneel it out. So you got to get your playmakers involved, and that's why I think the Bucs are in a better position, because I think Baker has proven, even if it's not perfect, he's going to give his team a better chance.
Yeah, agreed. Next game that we think is worth watching this week is Packers-Falcons. Sticking with the NFC North here, I am still very much a fan of Jordan Love, and there's a lot of folks out there that are asking, can he do it again? I think that he can. Excuse me one moment.
It's a great thing about when we clip these videos, you don't have to hear your nasty ass cough.
Oh, no, we're going to have to cut that out. But anyways, Jordan Love, I just loved what I saw out of him last week. And lots of questions swirling around the entire league is, can he do it again? I think that he can. And, looking at the team they're going up against, it seems as if, now, I guess it remains to see how bad the Bears actually are. But it seems as if perhaps they're going up maybe against an easier team this week, in my opinion. And I would say that Jordan Love should win this game. The Packers should win pretty handily. If they don't have a convincing win, I think that then there's going to be some questions here. But I would be surprised if they didn't walk away with a pretty convincing dub here.
So this is what's going to happen if it's a close game and it goes in the favor of the Falcons. It's because they're going to play the game that they want to play, and that is Desmond Ritter's going to game manage. They're not going to throw the ball a ton. Last week, Ritter was extremely efficient, but he only threw the ball 18 times, 15 of 18 for 115 yards. That's not a lot of air yardage if you want to add that up. And on top of it, Bijan Robinson had 6 catches for 27 yards, and his one touchdown was right at or behind the line of scrimmage where he made a nice play. And actually, this is the tie it all in. 9 of Ritter's 15 completions, Brad, were to the running back position. Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson combined for 9 catches. And their 2 playmakers that they have, their first-round pick, Drake London and Kyle Pitts, combined for just 2. And Kyle Pitts had 2 catches for 44, while Drake London was in on over 90% of the snaps, but he wasn't getting the ball. So if the Falcons are going to win this game, it's going to be that formula. But having said that, go ahead.
Tyler Algier is also the bell cow here. Lots of people had high expectations for Bijan Robinson. Last week, Tyler Algier had 2 touchdowns and 75 yards to Bijan Robinson's 56 yards to 0 touchdowns, and had 5 less rushes here as well. You think it's just let's just warm him up. Let's just not run him ragged here right out of the gate. Or do you think that Tyler Algier is that dude and Bijan's just going to have to play second fiddle?
I think it's just they drafted Bijan because they loved his skill set, but also the Falcons were making the commitment that they wanted to run the football. And Algier proved that he should be a part of that because he had such a great end to his season last year. And it just seems to me that the Falcons aren't sold on Ritter being a prolific passer right now. So I think you can probably start both Algier and Bijan Robinson moving forward, because last game, if it's an indication, they want to get each guy at least 15 touches. Algier had 15 carries and 3 catches. Bijan 10 carries and 6 catches. So that's both over 15. I'm with you. But the Packers, both offensively and defensively, they have more pieces. And if they can get ahead and do what they want to do, it's going to be in their favor. And I do expect that. But it should be an interesting game. And I would love to see Jordan Love continue his progression. I think he does have the makings to be a very successful franchise quarterback.
Yeah. Bottom line for me is that Packers just have a more complete team. Moving
I'm with you on that.
Into the next one, we got Ravens Bengals, and it almost feels like a must win for both teams here. You want to go in as the Ravens and prove that you weren't the team that you saw in Baltimore against the Houston Texans, as we have talked about at length, even on Monday. Talked about how everybody looked rusty. Lamar Jackson hadn't played one down in a real game time situation. He even admitted on Twitter that he was rusty AF. And so this is going to be interesting to see how this game shakes out. We saw some really good things between Lamar and Zay Flowers. This is Zay Flowers' first catch of the game, first catch of his career, and it was an absolute dime. The guy had a really great week. I think that there's a possibility here that Zay Flowers ends up breaking the century mark for the first time in his career this week as well. But you say it feels like a must-win game, but the Bengals went 0-2 last year as well. We know how that story ended for them. It's not everything's over if you go 0-2, but it makes it a lot harder for you to, especially in the AFC North, for you to get ahead. I think there is lots of pressure here. Who do you think has more pressure on this game, Ryan?
It's definitely got to be the Bengals. And not because I don't think that they're an extremely talented team, but with the fact with the Ravens and the continuity that they're trying to have with Lamar Jackson missed the majority of, the season, especially down the stretch, right? And then you have a new offensive coordinator trying to figure out your weapons. And on top of it, the Ravens are missing Marlon Humphrey. You're missing Marcus Williams, some of your guys in your secondary, and that's a strength for the Bengals. And they also have that continuity. Now, for Burrow, he missed a lot of time. So the fact that he missed time and missing practice reps, that matters. But they do have the continuity of Chase and Higgins and Burrow and Mixon. That offense has been together. And the other part of it, too, is, Brad, this game's at home for the Bengals.
Yeah.
So if you lose this game at home to Baltimore, that's something you got to keep in mind. You're going to have to come to Baltimore later, which I think will be advantage to Baltimore. I still think Baltimore has the ability to go and win this game. But if you look at their upcoming schedule, Brad, imagine starting 0-2. Yes, you should probably take care of the Rams. The going to Tennessee is not going to be as easy as you think. But then you still got to go to San Francisco. You got to play Buffalo. You got to go to Baltimore. It's going to become a little bit more challenging. So pressure-wise, I think it's on the Bengals. It's not by any means that they're going to be in trouble for the season per se. But to start out 0-2 against a division opponent, and 0-2 in the division I think is the biggest part here, Brad.
Yeah.
That's something, if it comes down to tiebreakers, you don't want to be on the outside looking in. And for the Ravens, you're going to be licking your chops because then you get another rookie quarterback the following week where they could be sitting at 3-0. So give me the pressure on Cincy.
Biggest key to this game, in my opinion, is going to be in the trenches. The pass rush of the Ravens is awesome. I mean, we saw that on display against Houston, which, hey, Houston has a good rush game, and we saw that with Pierce last week. They wrapped up C.J. Stroud as well. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because that offensive line of Cincinnati still looks porous AF. I don't know what the answer, how they're going to answer the Ravens pass rush next week. If they do, I think that they're going to have a much easier time with the Ravens. But, as always, Jamar Chase is that X factor, and it seems as if Jamar has the Ravens number over the last couple of years. So it's going to be a fun game to watch. I do think that the Bengals do have more pressure than the Ravens to win here as well. But either way, it's going to be a fun game.
Yeah, I mean, the Texans' offensive line was missing some pieces, but you finally wanted to see a Ravens front seven look dominant with the pieces that you were hoping that you drafted, that you brought in, and they looked that part. They did. Yeah. Now it's, can you do it against a team that has even more weapons, a more experienced quarterback, and that's going to be the tall test. But that's a strength that the Ravens want to live on. I'm with you. But I will say offensively, the X factor for me is, can Lamar Jackson figure things out? Can the addition of Mark Andrews? But I'm looking still at Zay Flowers. I think he's going to be a part of this team. I think he's going to be not just a part of it. I think he is really going to be a special wide receiver. And so why not, if you think he's the playmaker and he was having so many yards of separation in game 1 against the Texans, Zay balls out for the Ravens with Lamar, and we see that connection. I think it's going to be a big reason for the Ravens to walk away with a W. So as we move on here, and my phone hopefully doesn't die, because it's getting there, Brad. It's getting there on
How
the
close
service.
are we? How close are we?
We're at 10%, but we're right towards the end anyway. So as we're going to Jets-Cowboys, that's our final game we're going to cover here. Jets-Cowboys, before we talk a little bit, if we have time. Everyone knows, unless you're under a rock or just don't follow sports, and you probably aren't listening to us, Aaron Rodgers done for the year, torn Achilles, but the Jets still found a way to beat Buffalo. The Jets defense was tremendous. Zach Wilson did enough, and then special teams at the punt return and overtime to win the game. But now they go to Dallas, Brad, where Dallas just absolutely thumped the Giants, but again, all defense. And I think that this game, I think it's safe to say, this could be a very defensive-heavy game and very low scoring.
Yes, I think so too. And again, Zach Wilson is who he is. I don't think that he's been able to develop enough. I thought that perhaps with Aaron Rodgers being there for a couple of years, Zach Wilson would be able to learn under him, would be able to develop enough to really be a solid quarterback, a franchise quarterback in this league. There's a reason the Jets drafted him at number 2. I don't think enough time has passed for him to develop. And so I think that he's going to really struggle against this Dallas defense. On the other side of the ball, though, Dak is also struggling, coming off of his worst year of his career. Didn't have a great week last week. Obviously, he didn't have much to prove, but nevertheless, still a prove-it game for both of these teams and really both of these quarterbacks. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, look, the pressure, if you want to believe it or not, for me is off the, I actually think Zach Wilson's going to be in a better position than he was last year, because it felt like everything was holding them back. And now it's, what? We're dealing with this devastating loss. And Zach, it's a fresh start where we're not expecting you to be our guy long term. We want you to try to get us through. And I think that togetherness could help them out. For Dallas, you should win this game.
Yeah.
You should be the team, but this is going to be challenging for Dak and this offense. Brandon Cooks is dealing with an MCL sprain. And also, you saw how effective this Jets defense was against a very talented Buffalo team with Josh Allen on offense. I think that that's it. And the Cowboys' philosophy is they want to build off of their run game. You have Tony Pollard. You have a tremendous offensive line. It's going to be the battle between if the Cowboys can't get their run game going, then a lot of pressure is going to fall on Dak. And the Jets do have a tremendous secondary, as you see from this video, where Josh Allen, as talented as he is, has had a lot of turnovers. I thought a fun fact of it was for
that
Josh
was his
Allen
third turnover of that game, by the way. Third interception of that game.
So I'm going to pull this up really quickly. And it should, or Stats Muse. Here it is. This is via Stats Muse here, if the internet moves quick enough. Because this is just why I'm curious, because the Bills' rushing attack is not necessarily as formidable as the Cowboys. Tony Pollard's a stud. Cowboys have a better offensive line. But to give context here, Josh Allen, his last 3 games against the New York Jets, 5 picks, 4 fumbles, one of which he only lost, but still 4 times hitting the ground. He's at a completion percentage under 60% in 2 of those games, and he's actually only thrown over 205 yards in one of the last 3 games, being this past game, which was 236. Prior to that was 147 and 205. So it should be interesting. I think it's going to be a close game, Brad.
Yeah, I agree. All these games that we just covered, I think, are our favorite 5 games to watch this week. Hope you guys liked our picks as well. Let us know in the comments below what you guys think. Also, leave that thumbs up. We certainly would appreciate it as well. I'm going to let you go, everybody, as Ryan's phone is just about ready to die.
Oh,
but
it's at 4%.
I will say that I have a grind my gears, and it is that colds can suck it. I'm already over being sick.
Well, because it's always that. I'm with you too with that, because you can get through the day, you're fine, and then as soon as you want to just relax and go to bed, you just can't.
Yeah.
You just keep moving around, and you're like, damn it, I know I don't feel good. I just want to lie down and get rid of this, but you don't get that luxury.
That's right.
But hey, everyone, we appreciate the impromptu. And before we log out of here, for the Rays and Orioles, O's are down 4-3 in the bottom of the 7th. Hopefully they pull it out. Great game, and former Oriole Sean Armstrong, Army's on the mound. He's had a tremendous year for the Rays. But hey, that's all we have. Please tune in. Let us know what you want to talk about. And we will be back on Monday for some more overreactions talking about week 2. But you guys have a great rest of your night.
See you guys.